national story. Hectic parleys have begun as both the government and the opposition eye Raisina Hill. 17 opposition parties today adopted a resolution to field a common candidate, a consensus candidate. The leaders rallied after Mamata Banerjee's call for unity. Congress's Mallikarjun Kharge said it was all about being proactive and not reactive. However, the opposition does not have a candidate yet. And Sharad Pawar, the NCP chief, has declined the offer made to him several times. Interestingly, Rajnath Singh, defence minister, is leading the government's efforts to rally parties around a BJP candidate that has not been announced yet. According to wire reports, he even spoke with Sharad Pawar, Mamata Banerjee, Mayawati and other leaders from non-BJP, non-NDA parties. So what really is going on and why has this fight become so important? Sanjeev, Srivastava and Rasheed Kidwai join me now on the discussion. Great to speak with both of you once again. Hope you're doing well. Mr. Kidwai, let me begin by getting your take, because at the end of the day, the battle for president is not going to move the needle in terms of the political landscape. Is this more about an opportunity for the opposition to show that they still have some thrust, they can come together and make a change?
Tamanna, it appears to be, but that's not the reality, something very different. First of all, let's talk about one thing at one time. The possibility of a consensus nominee, that's very unlikely, because Modi government and the opposition, the divide between NDA and non-NDA, NDA and UPA is very wide. And it's getting very personal, the kind of ED rates, the kind of questioning that Rahul Gandhi is going through, all these things have blocked that avenue. Now, the thing is, last time around also, earlier the journalists were able to speculate that who's going to be the candidate from the government side. Remember, the NDA has a lot of numbers. They are like marginally short of a clear majority. And there is another group of parties like Aam Aadmi Party, parties like Biju Janata Dal, parties like that KCR's, that the Telangana Rashtriya Samiti, Jagan Mohan Reddy's, YSR Congress, all these parties provide a lot of cushion and comfort to Narendra Modi government. So it can be safely said that whoever Mr. Modi chooses will have easy access to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. In the opposition camp, there is a lot of disquiet, and they all are looking for some kind of symbolic fight. So to my mind, to answer your question in very specific terms, it is basically a question of optics and a symbolic fight. Whoever Mr. Modi proposes as a presidential candidate, the opposition will match that in stature. Maybe the opposition candidate, in terms of academic record or public stature, may be higher, but the victory would belong to NDA.
Is predicting that it's a foregone conclusion. Sanjeev Srivastava, do you agree?
Yeah, I do completely agree with Rasheed Kidwai there. And the only interesting point which I think will be there, like Mr. Kovind was a complete surprise. Not many people knew of him or him before he was announced as the candidate. Just like the Delhi LG recently, everybody asked who is Mr. Saxena. So I think there is a possibility that there will be a similar kind of a surprise which Mr. Modi is going to spring. And that will be the only interesting aspect of this election. And again, the opposition candidate, consensus or otherwise, will be much bigger and taller in stature than the NDA candidate, because that will be most probably the Prime Minister's choosing. He would like to spring a surprise. He would like to give that post to some Karyakarta, somebody who has never been seen. So that's a conjecture. About the opposition unity index, etc., I think Rasheed has spelled it out so well. All these parties, KCR, Mamata, YSR, I was reading one analysis, this number crunching game today, that even if a party like BJP abstains, the deal is done. So it's nearly at a kissing distance away from president's election. They are just short by maybe a few thousand votes, the NDA. So that they can ensure so easily and with everything at their disposal. But knowing BJP, knowing Mr. Modi, knowing Mr. Shah, they are going to leave no stone unturned to again record a hefty win. They won't like to just scrape through that they are 49% right now and let's have 52%. They would like to divide and make sure that the opposition fissures or the lack of understanding between opposition parties is there in front of everyone to see. So, and I also think somewhere, Tamanna, the presidential poll is very important, but it will also be a misnomer to say that the opposition, if they can't get their act together now in this president's election, that's writing on the wall as far as 2024 election is concerned.
No,
that
of
will be
course
a
not.
completely
No, of course
different
not.
ball game.
Conversely, if the opposition was trying to do nothing, then, we would be saying that, they're not even making an attempt. But Sanjeev, your take on the kind of meeting that we saw today, called by the TMC chief and the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. She helmed it. She was in charge. Is that also giving us a sense of how the opposition space is reshaping?
Well, there are half a dozen prime ministerial probables in the opposition. People who fancy themselves as prime minister candidates, from KCR to Arvind Kejriwal to Mamata Banerjee, to who knows who Prashant Kishore will prop up from
that's
Bihar
why the first two
by the
didn't
time
turn up to the
2024
meeting.
comes up.
That's interesting.
And of
That's
course,
why
the
the first
Congress
two
party
names that you
candidate
mentioned
always.
didn't turn up.
So yes, so that is an issue with the opposition, and all these prime ministerial probables represent one state, other than the Congress party still. And I think Mr. Sharad Pawar, even at his age, he is the only one who is smart enough, unlike a Mr. Bhairav Singh Shekhawat, whom I was very close to at one stage, who became a symbolic candidate despite him wanting to be, and lost the election to Pratibha Patil. So he doesn't want to be that sacrificial lamb. Because if Sharad Pawar is the candidate, if he agrees even now, then the NDA will get a run for its money. Because if Pawar throws in his hat, then all kind of equations will come into play. But then there is always this talk about Mr. Modi's special equation with Mr. Pawar. Will they like to antagonize each other on such a big canvas as the presidential
He's made it clear. Sharad Pawar has made it clear he's not interested more than a couple of times.
He would have been the best candidate.
For the opposition parties.
Yes,
Rasheed, Kidwai, the question of how the opposition space seems to be shaping up here, and the opportunity now that lies with the choice of the presidential candidate to send a larger message, because there always is, that question with the choice of candidate. Mr. Ramnath Kovind was the first Dalit president. You've had a woman president. So there is a larger social message that is always trying to be sent. Do you think that we'll see that this time as well?
Tamanna, you see, it's always for the political class and ruling class, it's a very easy thing. They always try to project, but somehow I don't think it makes an impact. I mean, if you look at the outgoing president's tenure, do you think that it actually helped, so to say, the weaker sections in any significant way, or politically it helped the BJP? I mean, the BJP is a winning machine because of what we call it as Modi magic. So that is a long and short of it. The Congress, I remember the UPA had propped up Pratibha Patil, thinking that it would send a message across gender lines. Nothing worked. I mean, the Congress got towards the end, between 2012 to 14, that was a very difficult and traumatic time. So I think the country needs a statesman, a stature of the likes of Zakir Hussain and Radhakrishnan and APJ Kalam. Remember, we have had very good president. Mr. Sharad Pawar, we talked about, he's a very good weathercock. I remember P.V. Narasimha Rao once he had told us, he said he once asked Sharad Pawar, what is 2 and 2? And Pawar, immediately said that it depends whether you're buying or you're selling. So he's able to, gauge that kind of, mood very well, which way the wind is blowing, and clearly wind is not blowing in any way in favor of the opposition. You see what is being talked about Gopal Krishna Gandhi or Farooq Abdullah, somebody, depending upon who the
So are you saying Mr. Pawar is bowing out because he thinks he won't win? Or is it because he still considers himself a very active politician?
No, I think he's very much sure in terms, he's a very pragmatic person. So he knows that there is no way that he can make it. So therefore he has opted out. And I think it will be, like I said earlier, it was going to be a symbolic fight, because Mr. Modi is not going to come up. And Tamanna, look, there is politics in everything. You look at that committee that consultative committee that's being formed to, negotiate with others. It has Rajnath Singh. Perhaps in terms of political stature within the NDA, he could have been a presidential nominee, the way Pranab Mukherjee was made president by the UPA. So, since he's part of that committee which is going to select, so he's ruled out. So I'm saying a lot of politics is also going on in between. There is no talk of vice president getting elevated. Remember, Venkaiah Naidu had a lot of experience, political capital to bid for it, but it seems the kind of precedence of a vice president making it to the president is not going to happen. So we are really in for some interesting time.
All right, interesting times indeed. The next round of meetings are going to happen in Mumbai, and those are meetings called by Sharad Pawar on 20th, 21st June. So this story will definitely continue. But thank you so much, Sanjeev and Rasheed, for joining us on the show today. Always a pleasure to speak with you. We'll take a very short break at this point, but we're coming back with the big voices of the day on ET Now. You will be hearing from the LIC chairman and the HUL boss. Stay tuned.